I don't know if uploading this is a mistake. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, I've already vanished like you did. Or maybe the video will just disappear overnight, the way certain things do when they're not meant to be remembered. But if that happens, you'll know why. And you'll know this story wasn't just some creepy pasta written for clicks. It started with my brother, but I can't blame him entirely. He didn't know what he was opening when he double-clicked that file. Neither of us did. And if I could go back, if I could slam the laptop shut before the loading screen appeared, maybe he'd still be here. Maybe I wouldn't wake up every night to that same low hum, like a machine running in the walls. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I have to tell this carefully, or it won't make sense. The problem is, some of it doesn't make sense even to me. Pieces of memory feel wrong, as if someone or something edited them. There are gaps where there shouldn't be, and flashes of images I never asked to keep. That's the worst part. I don't know which details I'm allowed to say out loud, because whenever I get too close, my chest tightens and my throat locks, like the story itself doesn't want me to finish. You're probably thinking this sounds like an act. Fine. Think that if it makes you feel safer. But I'll tell you this much. If you ever stumble across a game that doesn't have a title screen, that seems like it shouldn't exist, do not touch it. Don't even hover your mouse over it. Because once it starts, it doesn't stay inside the screen. The last memory I have of my brother, my real brother, wasn't in our house. It wasn't even in this world. And I can't explain how I know that, only that the moment the monitor lit his face in that sick, pale glow, something reached through. Something hungry. I swore I wouldn't talk about this. I swore I'd bury it, that I'd let the silence smother what happened. But silence doesn't work. The hum gets louder in the dark. The whispers crawl closer. So here it is. My confession. My warning. The forbidden memory that won't leave me alone. Before everything went wrong, life was painfully ordinary. The kind of ordinary you don't even bother remembering until something tears it apart, and suddenly you miss every boring second. My brother and I lived in a small, two-bedroom house with paper-thin walls and a Wi-Fi connection that worked half the time if you begged it. Nothing about us was remarkable. We weren't the kind of kids who stumbled into mysteries or dark secrets. We were just us. I was the older one, which meant I was supposed to be responsible, though my definition of responsible usually boiled down to making sure he didn't burn the kitchen down with his late-night ramen experiments. He was 2 years younger, full of restless energy and obsessed with games. Real games, pirated games, fan mods, half-broken indie projects he dug out of forums no one had used in years. He had this talent for finding the weirdest stuff online. Where I saw a sketchy download link, he saw an adventure waiting. Our days blurred into routine. Wake up, drag ourselves to school, come home, argue about what to watch, then sink into our own corners of the digital world. My corner was safe. YouTube rabbit holes, homework I barely finished, the same 3 playlists on repeat. His was dangerous in a subtle way, always pushing deeper into forgotten corners of the internet. But back then, it was just sibling contrast. I'd tease him about catching viruses. He'd fire back with jokes about me being boring as hell. Sometimes he'd barge into my room uninvited, plop down in my chair, and wave some obscure ROM in my face. Bet you've never heard of this one, he'd grin. That's because no one wants to. I'd shoot back, rolling my eyes. He lived for those moments, baiting me, pulling me into his obsessions, proving he could find treasure in digital trash. The truth? I kind of liked it. Not that I'd admit it then. His chaos made the house feel alive. The arguments, the laughter, even the times he roped me into his strange discoveries. It broke the monotony. And there was a lot of monotony. Our parents worked late, nights dragged, and the glow of a computer screen was sometimes the only company we had. Looking back, I can see how fragile that balance was. How easy it was for a strange file to slip into our lives, unnoticed, until it was too late. But before that night, before the game, the worst thing my brother ever did was beat me at Mario Kart with an unfair blue shell. And if I'd known how fast we'd go from laughing at stupid in-jokes to staring into something that should have never existed, maybe I would have cherished the boring a little more. It started like most of his discoveries did, with a smug grin and a half-whispered, "You've got to see this." I was stretched out on my bed, half asleep with my earbuds in, when he barged into my room like the self-appointed prophet of some underground cult. "Check this out," he said, spinning my chair around before I could protest. His laptop screen glowed in the dark, illuminating his face like a campfire. There, in the middle of his cluttered desktop, was a single, unfamiliar icon. No name, just a faint gray square. I frowned. What is that supposed to be? A corrupted file? That's what I thought at first, he said, voice tinged with excitement. But it's not. It's a game. Or at least, I think it is. I groaned. If this is another broken emulator or a fan patch, I'm out. But something about the way he hovered over that icon made me pause. It wasn't just his usual eagerness. There was hesitation, too, like he knew he'd found something heavier than the usual garbage. He clicked, and for a moment nothing happened. The cursor froze, the whole screen flickered, and I muttered, "Great, you just fried your hard drive." Then the screen went black. Not off black, still humming with life. A heartbeat later, faint white text appeared at the center. No title, no logo, just the words. "Welcome back." I laughed nervously. "Back? To what? You've never played this before." He shrugged, but his grin faltered. "Maybe it's just a weird Easter egg." We sat there waiting. After a few seconds, the text dissolved, replaced by a blank menu. Start. Continue. Options. Continue. I asked, "How can you continue something that's never been started?" He didn't answer. His hand hovered over the trackpad, fingers trembling. He clicked start. The screen bled into a grainy landscape, shades of gray and static, like an old VHS recording. A small figure stood in the center. It looked like a character sprite, but crudely drawn, unfinished. No face, no details, just a human shape waiting in the void. We stared. Nothing happened. Pretty lame so far. I muttered, but the words felt thin. Then the figure twitched. Just once, as if it had heard me. I leaned closer. "Did it just move?" He swallowed. "Yeah, but I didn't press anything." For a few moments we tried the controls, arrow keys, spacebar, the usual. Sometimes the figure responded, sometimes it didn't. But every time we stopped, it shifted on its own like it was restless, like it hated being watched. The longer I stared, the stranger it felt. Not frightening, not yet, but wrong. Like a dream you don't remember clearly until hours later, when your stomach suddenly knots and you realize something was off the whole time. My brother broke the silence first. "It's kind of cool, right?" "Cool. It's creepy," I said. But even as I spoke, I felt that pull too. The game was unfinished, broken, uncanny, but it felt alive. After a while, he exited to the desktop, but the icon had changed. No longer a blank gray square. Now it was a crude, pixelated eye staring right at us. We looked at each other. He grinned nervously. Probably just part of the design. Or it's malware. I shot back. He closed the laptop, but I noticed his hands were shaking. Mine were too. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't shake the image of that faceless figure. How it twitched when I mocked it. How the game claimed we'd been there before. I told myself it was nothing. Just a glitchy indie experiment some developer abandoned. But deep down I knew. I knew we hadn't found the game. The game had found us. The next night, my brother couldn't resist. I'd half hoped he would forget about it, that the icon would vanish overnight the way strange things sometimes do when you reboot. But when I walked into his room, there was again, brighter than before, the pixelated eye sharper, like it had been cleaned up while we slept. He didn't even look up from a screen. "It's different now," he muttered, voice hushed like a kid caught sneaking candy. I crossed my arms. "Different how?" "Just watch." He double-clicked, and the game opened instantly this time. No loading. No glitchy pause. The same faceless figure stood in the middle of that static gray world, but the environment had changed. The ground stretched farther, textured now with vague lines that looked like roads. In the distance, crude shapes suggested buildings. Unfinished polygons melting into static whenever you focused on them. The figure tilted its head, not in response to us touching the keys, just on its own. "Stop," I said instinctively. "Don't." He ignored me, pressing the arrow keys. The sprite walked forward, jerky but deliberate. The screen scrolled, revealing more of the distorted landscape. We reached one of the buildings, if you could call it that. Up close, the shape solidified into something resembling a house, but wrong. The proportions bent inward, windows were lopsided, the door too tall. He pressed the key to enter, and the screen flickered. Inside was a single room. Walls of static, floorboards stretched too thin, and at the center, a chair. On it sat another sprite, featureless like the first, except this one twitched constantly. Then, a line of text appeared at the bottom of the screen. "I remember you." My brother froze. His hand hovered over the keyboard. "It's just scripted text," he whispered. "Yeah, but scripted for who? We've never played this." The sprite on the chair jittered violently, like a corrupted GIF before snapping still. The next line appeared. "You left me alone last time." I felt my stomach drop. What the hell does that mean? He forced a laugh. Probably some abandoned ARG. Someone trying to be clever. But his voice cracked on clever. We tried to back out of the room, but the character wouldn't move. The sprite on the chair leaned forward. Its head glitched, stretched, until the screen distorted into unreadable lines. The speakers hissed with static, then shifted into something that almost sounded like a voice, garbled, broken, but too close to human. I ripped off the headphones. "Nope. Done. Shut off." He shook his head. "No, wait, look." The screen cleared. The faceless figure, the one we controlled, was standing outside the house again. But this time it wasn't still. It faced us. Directly. Then text. "Why are you back?" Neither of us touched the keys. My skin prickled. This is wrong. Delete it. But my brother's eyes gleamed in the pale glow of the monitor. "Don't you see? This is amazing. It's like it knows us. That's exactly why we shouldn't." He pressed a key. The figure walked forward again, backslash. The world stretched into new shapes, broken streets, vague outlines of trees, empty lots. Each house we entered contained another twitching sprite, each spouting cryptic lines of dialogue. Some repeated nonsense, still waiting, still waiting. Others muttered distorted phrases that half sounded like our names, but glitched before completing. The deeper we went, the more the sprites shifted. At first they were faceless. Then faint smudges appeared where features should be. A line of pixels for a mouth. A hollow blur for eyes. I swear one of them smiled. Hours slipped by. I lost track of time in that gray labyrinth. At some point, I glanced at my phone, past midnight. "Seriously enough," I said, voice sharp. "It's late." But he was locked in, transfixed. Every new sprite, every cryptic phrase, only pulled him deeper. Then came the moment that shattered any pretense of this being a clever ARG. We entered another crooked house. Inside sat a sprite, twitching like the rest. Text appeared. "Hello," my brother's name. We both went still. His name. Not just an initial. Not some generic player tag. His actual name. The air in the room felt heavier, like the walls had closed in. He tried to laugh it off, but the sound was thin. It's probably pulling from system files. No way, I said. You don't even use your real name on this laptop. He didn't answer. The sprite's head tilted. Another line. We missed you. I grabbed his arm. Shut it off. But he didn't. His hand shook, hovering over the keyboard. Eyes locked on the faceless screen person addressing him like an old friend. When the monitor flickered again, I swear I saw something shift in the reflection. Not on screen, behind us. Just for a second. A shadow that didn't belong. I lunged forward and slammed the laptop closed. The screen went dark. The hum of the fan fading into silence. My brother's face twisted in anger. Why'd you do that? Because it's not safe, I snapped. My voice cracked more than I wanted it to. He didn't answer. He just sat there, staring at the closed lid, chest rising and falling like he'd run a mile. I thought that was the end of it. I prayed it was. But later, lying in bed, I heard something through the wall, soft, rhythmic keystrokes. My brother, back at the laptop, ignoring every warning. And underneath those keystrokes, a faint voice. Garbled, static, like words trying to push through a bad connection. Calling his name. The next morning, I found him still at his desk. Eyes bloodshot, skin pale, hands twitching faintly over the keyboard. The laptop screen was black, but he sat staring at it like it was alive, like if he blinked, he'd miss something. You didn't sleep? I asked, already knowing the answer. He didn't look at me. It's different when you're alone, he murmured. What is? The game. It shows more. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean, more? He finally turned, and I hated the look in his eyes. Wild, hungry, the kind of look someone gets when they've stumbled into a secret they can't unsee. It knows me, he whispered. I thought he was exaggerating, until that evening when he shoved the laptop at me. Watch. The game booted instantly again. No loading, no menu this time. Just straight into a dim, glitching corridor. The sprite we controlled wasn't faceless anymore. It had lines etched where eyes should be, a jagged line for a mouth. My stomach dropped. It looks like me, he finished, smiling grimly. It's me now. We moved through the corridor, walls warping in and out like breathing lungs. At the end stood a door. He pressed the key, and the door creaked open with a sound too real for the cheap graphics. Inside was a room I recognized instantly. Our living room. Pixelated, distorted, but unmistakable. The sagging couch, the crooked lamp, the clutter on the coffee table. It was all there. My breath caught. How the hell? The sprite version of my brother walked to the couch. On it sat another sprite, slouched, head tilted. The screen glitched, lines warping across the model, but I knew what I was looking at. It was me, not faceless, not abstract me. My sprite's head jerked, and text appeared. We see you too. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the desk rattled. No, we're done. But he pulled it back open. The screen blinked to life instantly. No reboot, no loading, like it had never been closed. And there it was again, our living room, my pixel double staring blankly out of the screen. Don't you get it? My brother hissed. It's not just a game. It's a mirror. I wanted to yell at him, but the words caught in my throat. Because in the corner of the room, near the lamp, something flickered. For a single frame. So fast I thought I imagined it. I saw a shadow that didn't belong. Over the next few days, the game grew bolder. It wasn't just random houses or vague dialogue anymore. Now, every play session revealed something personal. Our old backyard. Our school's cracked parking lot. Once, even the street outside our house. And the sprites, God, the sprites. They changed with every visit. Sometimes they looked like neighbors, teachers, classmates we hadn't spoken to in years. Sometimes they looked like us. Once I swear I saw our mom's face on one, glitching and stretched, mouthing words the text box didn't show. I stopped watching after that. But my brother didn't. He couldn't. I tried everything. Hiding the laptop, pulling the plug, even threatening to tell our parents. He always found a way back. The worst part was how he defended it. "You don't get it," he'd snap. "It's not dangerous. It's important." Important how? "It's eating you alive." His eyes would darken. Maybe that's the point.